What we have here is the Commerce Kickstart 2 distribution. There are a number of ways you can install Drupal Commerce, but this is the premier way of getting a good demo store ready and trying things out like how to deal with taxes, that kind of thing. In the last webinar that we did this morning, David Kitchen showed off his module page on Drupal.org, which is where you can go and download the most recent module that connects with Exactor. Another place you can go is marketplace.commerceguys.com/add-ons. All of our partners are listed there, and you can go to the Exactor page and learn quite a bit. In fact, I want to point out that there's a lot of documentation right there on Marketplace. If you're logged in, you can see a lot of really useful information that Exactor has supplied to you guys just because you're part of Marketplace. So I definitely encourage you to do that. It's just a click sign up and install here. And if you have your site registered, your Kickstart site registered with Marketplace, you can actually select it here and it will install it directly to your site. To go ahead and demonstrate that, how you do that without Marketplace intervention, you can just go to Site Settings and Modules. Now, while that's loading, I want to talk a little bit about what's going to happen here. We're just going to enable a couple of the Exactor modules, and you can find that in Commerce Tax, or you can, of course, search for the word Exactor, and it will show up. There are 4 modules that come with it. We have the API, which is obviously required, and then you have 3 different modules that you can enable based on what you want to use from Exactor, which means basically when you sign up for one service, you're really getting 3 different services. You're getting what Jonathan had talked about for address verification, and why that's important for taxes is that you absolutely need to make sure your taxes are getting calculated for exactly where that person lives, not necessarily the broken address that they gave you, but the actual address that is verifiable. You can also turn on the calculation services. That's highly recommended. That's what actually helps you calculate the taxes. And then finally, there's a helper module here for the EUC codes, which again, it helps with accuracy. It maps what Exactor understands to be certain kinds of products, like certain kinds of software, certain kinds of physical products that have different kinds of tax law based on how you're shipping them, et cetera, and how things are getting sent out. So definitely recommend enabling at least these 2. The address verification is something that's maybe just a little bit beyond this quick demo that we're going to show today. So once you've turned those 3 on, you have 2 options. You can, from this screen, you can click Configure here, or you can go to Store Settings and Exactor Sales Tax here. Once you've clicked on that, you'll be asked to enter in your account ID, user ID, etc. Again, if you're using Marketplace, if you've installed this through Marketplace, a lot of this can come through. If you haven't, you can go ahead and sign up with Exactor. The only thing they're going to need that's maybe slightly out of the ordinary is the federal ID for your company, but that gives them the ability to give you a really simple, quick, and accurate quote for estimated quote for how much it might cost you based on how many filings you're going to give, etc. So I highly recommend you go there just to get a feel for how much this might cost you or save you, to be honest, if we're talking about fees and everything else that you're working with. So once you've got this set up, you're going to want to make sure you have the address that you're shipping from listed here, because that's part of the sales tax. And this is, I said shipping from. This is probably something that Jonathan could clarify later on when I hand back the mic to him. But you want to make sure this is where you actually are connected. This is where the nexus is happening with the state that you're sending it from. So once you have that all set up, everything should just work. So I'm on a product page here. This is my favorite Kickstart 2 product. It is a USB key, and you can choose the capacity. I'm just going to buy one 32 gigabyte and add it to the cart. Once we've done that, by the way, if you're using Kickstart 2, this is a great place where you can do some upsells and try to cross-sell other products as well. And it's just a simple view that you can edit and do all kinds of interesting cross-promotions there. Once you've got the cart here, you can go ahead and click Checkout. Now you'll notice right now we don't have any additional line items showing here under Order Total. I've already done this demo a couple times, so my address is on file. I live on Main Street in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and it's already copied it over there to the shipping information as well. When we click continue, this is when it's going to be contacting the Exactor service. Now, if for example, my internet cut out right now, and I couldn't contact Exactor, or my server was somehow unable to connect to Exactor, it's very unlikely it'd be the other way around. But if there's somehow a connection interference, you wouldn't be allowed to complete checkout if that were the case. But when I click continue to next step, what it's doing is it's going to Exactor and saying, hey, I need sales tax for all of these line items, and that's stored in Exactor's database too, so you have a complete audit trail based on a per product basis, and that includes your shipping that we set up there too, and any rules that would be related to the shipping can be set up as well. So we have one $30 product, we have $2.70 sales tax, and when you complete this, I have to count, and I can't talk and count at the same time. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 ones for our example card. Probably miscounted, so we'll try it again. Try it one more time here. Once you've successfully checked out, which I can demonstrate here by clicking on Manage Orders, you can assume that there is typically, when you check out here and when that payment would have processed, we'll just click at it and take a look at one that has processed, you have a status of pending. Now, pending is very important from an e-commerce perspective because there's lots of things that need to happen. One, we need to make sure that that payment can possibly go through. Two, we may need to make sure that we actually have that item in stock and that we're ready to send it, but we haven't sent it yet. Three, maybe you need to send it and you don't want to complete the order until it's been sent. So there's all kinds of reasons that pending exists. For our purposes, we need to set it to be completed. And once it gets completed, which I will demonstrate on the actual order that we just created, because it actually has sales tax enabled on it. But once that's the wrong order ID. That's great. The beauty of working locally here is that it's a pretty fast process to click back and forth here. When you go here and see the sales tax line item is there, you can change the status to completed. And once you've done that, the completed status will send all of the information to Exactor so that it shows up in reports and can be paid or filed directly with the state. Let's see here, the final bit of demonstration here, and I'm just going to get you guys interested in this, and then I will hand it back over to Jonathan, is the actual Exactor interface where we're already connected and we're already showing all kinds of interesting reports about what's going through here. So this is literally connected to the system that we used, and you can see all the various checks and balances that we've done. Now, I've already completed that order, so it's outside of the request report range. So there's all kinds of reports, and Jonathan's got a lot to talk about in terms of what you can do here on the site. But that is just a really quick example of how Kickstart 2 interacts with Exactor to get your sales tax. Jonathan?
Okay, thank you. At this point, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Josh. So as you can see, implementing the Exactor module into Kickstart and also into Drupal Commerce is very simple, very straightforward, and that obviously that is by design. Once it's implemented, as I mentioned, there's really zero maintenance that needs to be done. So just to give you an idea, what I wanted to do is just spend a couple of minutes over here on the reporting so you'll get a sense of how the account is managed from the Exactor side. And so every client has access to this online real-time accounting reporting methodology. Josh showed you quickly talked a bit about the reports of the transaction level. He mentioned about the calculations and the commit. So what happens is, but just by way of background, is our system tracks any and all calculations, but we also recognize that oftentimes there's some type of differentiator between when when a sale occurs and when revenue is recognized. In the e-commerce environment, oftentimes the calc and the commits are simultaneous, but sometimes there is a delay. Even, for example, many companies might recognize revenue only when the product ships. So what we do is we track the calculation as you can see, at the invoice level, but these are not used for generating the returns. Only transactions that where the revenue has been recognized, um, and revenue recognition really depends. Every company has different revenue recognition rules. So only once the revenue has actually been recognized, they are then considered to be committed transactions. And then that is when these are the transactions that we will use for actually generating and filing the tax return. As you can see on this report, so then we track the transactions at the invoice level. We got the ship to, the ship from, and by clicking on the actual transaction, you get the actual line items. You can see in this situation, we've got a shipment with actually, as you can see, different line items. In this situation, we're using a system. I guess this transaction came in from a system that was using actually different that is actually using alternate ship twos for each different line items. So as I mentioned, we calculate the taxes on a per line item basis, and there are situations where the same invoice can actually have multiple ship twos, and we will determine the taxes accurately for each item. So in this situation, you can see line 1 is going to Pennsylvania. It's got the Pennsylvania taxes. Line 2 and 3 and 4, I guess, are going to Nevada. Line 5 is going to California, and you can see tracking all the different California taxes. In this situation, it's got 4 different taxes, starting from the state and drilling down basically to the counties, districts, and special districts. Let me see if I've just got a more straightforward transaction over here, like over here again, a California transaction with 3 different items. So you can see we track, and you can drill down to the actual transaction level, so that in a situation, so that even though for the actual consumer, for the buyer, they will only see the $308, the actual total taxes in their shopping cart. As you can see, we track it on a per line with all the different breakdowns, because this is the information that we need to later on use for generating and filing the tax returns. Other items that are important just to note is the product mapping. And what product mapping is basically is a method for translating and converting your SKUs to let our system know what is it that you're selling. We don't have people who sit on each invoice and do a manual interpretation. That would be horrendously slow and tremendously expensive. So what we do is we provide a method that actually can do an automated conversion on the fly in real time that is just totally transparent. And that is what is called product mapping, where you map your SKUs to what we call our EUC codes, our Exactor Unified Codes, which is our unified method for identifying the different products. So you will identify, and this is a one-time activity, you will map your SKU into our EUC code, into, for example, the license of custom software. And so then we then track all the rules that have to do with the licensing of custom software around the United States and around the world. So anytime that you sell a license for custom software, doesn't matter where it's going to occur, we will know basically which rules to apply and how to calculate it. In addition, an addition point of interest is that of the nexus. Nexus is the method for telling us where is it you want us to calculate the taxes. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we're not here to tell you what to do or how to do it. We're here to provide a tool to automate processes that otherwise are going to be labor-intensive, manual, expensive, or inaccurate. We're here to provide a tool for automation. So you tell us where it is that you want us to calculate. You know where you're doing business. So by coming to this page, by enabling a state, by disabling the state over here, that tells us that you do not want us to calculate in California, and then any transaction that comes through to California, we will return $0 in taxes. In the next two rows, you also tell us where it is that you want us to file your returns and what the filing frequency is. Another report of interest is that of the transaction summary. This report provides you basically with a breakdown of the transactions that occurred based on in the different taxing jurisdictions within the given date range. You can see over here some international transactions as well as also the breakdown within the states. So you've got a high level picture basically of the total sales, exemptions, taxable sales, drilling down to the taxes owing. In addition, you can also drill down into the state itself. By clicking on the state, you will actually get then the breakdown into the state of all the different local jurisdictions, similar report, but broken down basically by all the local jurisdictions, starting from the district, going through the states, the counties, and the special districts. In addition, you can also click on any one of these numbers over here to the right, and it will give you all the transactions that occurred in that jurisdiction. So you're going to see over here the 55 different transactions that occurred in Delaware. Finally, you get to also the date of filing. What will happen is on the 5th day of the month, we will generate a tax return summary for you. And what that is basically a web page where you will come and it will show you all the taxes that are owing that need to be filed for in that month. It provides you with the totals at the state level. If you want, you can also drill down into the local level, and you will see all the different districts, the counties that might be owing for that month. And then all you need to do is basically approve the numbers. Given that usually these numbers are derived straight from that these numbers are calculated in the same method using the same engine basically that also did the original calculation, the numbers are always going to match.